All right, guys, so we're back with another video. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up SSL for our load balancer. So it's going to be fairly simple. We're just going to go ahead and click on the load balancer, or you can go to networking and get to the load balancer there. Okay, all of our droplets are healthy. They are all accessible through the load balance only, and they cannot be accessed directly via the IP address. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set up SSL. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to need to, let's do this. So let's see what happens if I forcefully redirect all traffic. Seems like it won't even let us do that. And it's because we need to actually have a, rule. So let's go over here. So let's say HTTPS, and we need a certificate. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll click on new certificate, and I'll select. Let's see. Let's select this one. Yep. Okay. And it does also give you extra options. So if you want to include all subdomains, so this will pretty much encrypt every single subdomain for you. So that way you don't have to worry about that. Me personally, I like managing it myself with Nginx. But here's the thing though, we're not really right now, like we're not really like going to be worrying so much about like the server stuff. Like we're not really gonna have to like worry about adding like a subdomain for the servers, because those are not gonna be accessible by the outer world. Right? Those are just hosted, and they're only accessible by the load balancer. That's how the load balancer gets the request. But honestly, for this one, I would say we don't have to worry so much about the subdomain. I'll just do include all subdomains for now, and I'll just call this Anson. And you can also use your own certificate too. So if you want, you can create your own certificate and you can save it here. Okay, but DigitalOcean will manage it for you, and it's free, so it won't charge you anything extra. All right, so let's just go ahead and do that. So it'll generate the certificate, and you'll see how easy it is. And there you go. So it's pending. It's gonna take like a couple seconds for it to finish updating. So let's just refresh. Shouldn't take too long. Let's just double check. So let's see, HTTPS. Okay, there we go. And so all of the traffic should be forwarded. So let me actually see this. So if I click save, so let me actually see what happens. So if I visit HTTPS ansonfong.io, okay, there we go. So now if I visit ansonfong.io, it's going to encrypt the communications. Okay, you can see that right over here it doesn't actually auto redirect, or it doesn't redirect from HTTP to HTTPS. We can actually set that. So if I do this, it should work. Now if I refresh, you can see that it should, yep. So you see no more not secure. Okay. So literally what we're doing is we're basically taking every single connection made on port 443, and what we're doing is we're forwarding it to our web server that is living internally. It's basically protected by the firewall. Okay, and it's running on port 80. Now the question becomes, do you really need to have it forwarded to port 443? Now, let's see, I'm looking something up over here, and someone also had the same question. So what I'm curious about is, are there any security concerns? Yeah, so it seems like you obviously should not do this, because you're basically, seems like, if I'm not wrong, it seems like it is going to downgrade the connection from, like, 443. Well, it's basically going from 443 to port 80. So I think what we should do instead is you should be consistent and have it go from 443 to 443 HTTPS, and then we can save that. Now, right now, this is obviously not going to work because on the other servers, we don't have HTTPS enabled on the other servers. So there's a couple things that we have to do. One, we have to go back to the networking tab. You can see that's unavailable. So none of the services are accessible. Now what we need to do is we need to go to the firewall, and we can go over here and we can go ahead. So we already have let's see. So all connections are good for this. But the problem here is that we don't have SSL enabled on our servers. So each one of these servers do not have SSL enabled. Okay, so the question here is, how do we actually enable that? Okay, so what we can do is we can actually do this. So with the same domain that we have, you can create a bunch of subdomains, and I think DigitalOcean should take care of encrypting that because it uses the wildcard. So what we can do is we can add a subdomain. So let's say, for example, S1 will direct to S1. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. So create record. And let's do www.s1 will direct to S1. We're going to create one for S2. Okay. www.s2. And we'll create one for S3. Okay. And I think by default it should just encrypt the traffic. If you were to, like, if someone were to just go directly to these domains, it should encrypt the traffic because we have DigitalOcean managing the certificates. But it seems like we're not even able to. We're also not able to actually make any requests to here. So let me actually do one thing real quick. Let me go ahead and go into the networking tab. So what I want to do is I want to go into the firewall. And I wish there was a way we can just kind of like, you know, just kind of like edit things. Okay, so this is HTTP only. So that's not really going to fix anything. But let me just make sure that it's changing. So yeah, so because we have forced redirection, it's going to always redirect no matter what. Let me go and do this. So let's edit this rule and let's just say all IPv4. Okay, let's just kind of like disable the firewall for a little bit, so we can kind of like figure out this this issue. Okay, so right now it seems like it's still not able to access that, but let's see if we can access the domain names, the subdomain names directly. Okay, so we have I wish there was a way. I wish there was a way where I could actually just do this instead. I mean, we already have these records set up already, so it should be fine because it points to here. So let me go ahead and try to access S1 directly, and it should be able to because we disabled the firewall. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can see how we have the firewall disabled. Okay, but the connection is not secure. So I think when we create the certificate through DigitalOcean for the load balancer, I think that only manages it for the load balancer. Let me just see one thing real quick. Let me just make sure, so that way we can. Because I know exactly what we can do next, so don't worry. Because let's see. So automatically encrypt with a free encrypt law. Search for a domain. Let me do this. Let me. I think it's because we didn't add like the subdomain before, so maybe that's why it didn't work. Yeah, I think maybe that's why. Let's try again before we do something else. Okay, so let's generate a certificate, and then we'll reapply it again. So it's pending. I don't know if there's like a WebSocket that notifies me if it's completed. Still pending. Let's see. We'll just refresh a couple more times because it shouldn't take too long. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and save. Okay. So if I access this website, if I access my other domains, what should happen? So I'm only able to access this domain name through an unsecure connection, but it's not doing anything for secure connections. Because if I try to go to S2, it's not going to work. So okay, no, actually, well, okay, so it's able to go, but it won't actually encrypt the data. And we're not able to access the other services too. Like, so I can access this without a secure connection, but obviously we don't want that. So I think honestly, with this certificate, well, it's saying healthy, which I guess, yeah, I guess that makes sense because it's able to, like, we're still able to access like the IP addresses directly because we disabled the firewall, or we update the rules so that it can take it from any IP address. Okay. But I have a solution to this because I initially thought that the load balancer could just take care of the subdomains, but I don't know why it's not doing that though. I think maybe it's because maybe it's because those subdomains don't actually apply to the load balancer. I think that's why the subdomains apply to the server itself. Okay, that's fine. All right, so now that I am SSH into my server, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and install Certbot, and let's encrypt. And it's gonna be a very, very, very easy process. I'll show you guys how we can do that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna paste this command. So let's do S1 first. Okay. Well, actually, before we do that, before we install Certbot, we actually also have to do one more thing. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and we need to go inside the sites available folder. So we see how we have this default config, right? So what we need to do is we need to actually create a copy of it. So let me go ahead and call this let's see, it's s1.install.io. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and sudo and vim s1. And so we're gonna have to modify this file. Okay. So I'm gonna use vim. You can use whatever text editor you want. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So we'll leave the root alone, but we're gonna have to modify the server name. So we're gonna change it to the domain name, the subdomain. So remember what I did earlier was I took each subdomain and I mapped it to to its own corresponding droplet. So since I'm on the S1 droplet, the subdomain is gonna be s1.install.io. And we also want to make sure we account for www as well. Okay. So everything else we don't need to modify, at least for now. So what we're gonna do is just verify our Nginx config is good. It's gonna give us an error, or it should have given us an error. I guess it's because let me see. It should have given us an error because we have 2 default servers. Oh, I know why. It's because we haven't actually linked it yet. So watch this. So first, let's create a symlink. So you type sudo ln, and you're gonna pass in the absolute path to the file that we just created. So this is actually called a server block. So this and this actually allows you to host multiple different websites with multiple different names using Nginx, and that's why Nginx is so powerful. Essentially, I can host literally as many websites as I want with as many different domains as I want on just one server. Okay, so that's why what we did was we created a copy and we just renamed it as the domain. Now, if you were to follow any tutorial on DigitalOcean, it's literally the same thing that they recommend. Okay, which is why I'm doing it the way that they do it. Okay, and this is the way that I personally do it too. So we're gonna go ahead. Let me zoom out a little bit. Actually, wait, move that there. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and create a symlink. So we're gonna take this, and it's gonna link to all of everything inside the sites enabled folder. So what this will do is we'll create a symlink. So essentially, it'll create like a file inside the sites enabled folder. And what we can do is we can basically make changes to the sites available folder. So whenever that change happens, it'll just auto update. Well, it'll basically just be applied because it's just some link. Okay, so we don't have to do anything else after. So I create the symlink, and if I type sudo nginx-t, it should give me an error, and you can see the reason why is because there's a duplicate default server. Okay, so what we can do is we can do sudo vim default, and we can go down to, let's say, go down here. So this is inside the default, not the one that we just copied, the default one. And we'll just comment out that. Okay, so I just edited this, the default one. If I do sudo nginx -t, that should work. And there we go. And keep in mind that I already removed the rules from the firewall, so I'm making it so that all connections are welcome. So I can actually just directly access S1. Okay, so give me 1 second. Okay, so this is S1 right over here. Okay. And right now, the problem, like I said, is we don't have Let's Encrypt. But in order to get Let's Encrypt to work, we need to set up this server block for it to work properly. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install, let's see, Certbot. So to do that, all you do is just type sudo apt install certbot python 3 certbot nginx. So it's python 3 certbot nginx. So we'll just go ahead and say yes. Okay. And we'll do this for the other 2 servers too, so don't worry. And you'll see how easy the setup is. Once everything is good to go, you'll see how difficult it isn't to get this thing set up. Now, it could vary based on the operating system you use. Keep in mind that I'm using Nginx version 21, I think, and this is the guide. I'll actually leave a link to this as well. Like I said, this README will be updated with a bunch of useful links, so don't worry. If there's anything that I'm missing, you guys can make a pull request and add that in. But yeah, but pretty much the same things that we're doing should work the same way. So, okay, so we just installed Certbot. Okay. So what we're gonna do, and what we need to do is we just need to go ahead and just obtain a certificate. So we're just type in certbot or sudo certbot. Well, I'm on the root user already, so it doesn't really matter, but certbot -- nginx. Okay, so that's the nginx, and then that's the nginx plugin -d. Okay, so -d is used to specify the domain. So we're gonna go ahead and specify the domain for S1 ansonfong.io, and then we're gonna do another domain. Okay, S1 or www.s1ansonfong.io. Okay, so we're gonna do it for 2 domains. So let's go ahead and hit enter. So it's gonna ask you for your email address. So let me just type that in real quick. So let's see, it's gonna be okay. So we'll agree to the terms. Okay, and this will just ask you if you want to share your email address. So I'll just put N. Okay, so sometimes this might fail because it might fail a couple reasons. It might fail because you didn't properly configure your DNS. So make sure you double check on your registrar and make sure you have it pointing to the correct name servers. It can also fail if you did not configure your cloud hosting provider and you didn't add like the domain name like we just did in the previous tutorial. And it can also fail because it just didn't take enough time to propagate. So you can try again a couple times, but if it doesn't work even after 40 hours or even after, I would say give it at least like usually for me, like I've never really had that experience before where it took forever to like get this set up. But yeah, like I said, double check your name servers and double check the records on DigitalOcean or Linode or whatever you're using. But it seems like we just added it. Okay, now let me go ahead and go back to here. If I refresh, you see now it's encrypted. Okay, now let's see. Now one problem here is that so we need to make sure that it actually forwards. Let me do this. We need to make sure that HTTP requests get forwarded. So let me actually do this. Let me actually select this old certificate again. Actually, let me see this real quick. Okay. Seems like this should be okay. If I refresh, I'm hoping that it can go to at least S1, but it seems like it's not doing that for some reason. Let me see. So you can see that right now, it's able to connect because of these IP address, and that's because we didn't set up the firewall. Well, we removed the rules. Okay, but I think it should just take some time to propagate. It should at least go to 1 at the very least. But anyways, that's not super important right now. Okay, we have S1 ansonfong.io. And so we can pretty much just do the same thing. Now, before we do that, let me also just show you what the file looks like after you configure Let's Encrypt. So basically just adds some extra stuff in the Nginx configuration. So you can see over here that it says over here, listen 443 Ssl. It specifies the path to the certificate. So like I said, you can use your own certificate if you want. So you don't even need to create it through DigitalOcean. You can just generate it on the server and just get the contents and just paste it in. And this is where all the redirect stuff is happening. So whenever the user visits from like www or like HTTP, it'll redirect to HTTPS. Okay, so we can essentially do the same thing for the other 2 droplets now. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we gotta do is, like I said, let's go into Nginx sites available. Copy the default, and we'll name this S2 because we're in S2 right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So we'll go ahead and comment out these 2 because that will conflict because we have that already. Or actually, was it? Wait, was it that? Or hold on. Let me just double check. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, so we'll comment those 2 out, and then the server name will just be S2, not dog. I keep typing dog because that's like the name of my project, that's why. So I apologize for that. So wws2 ansonfong.io. Okay, that didn't do anything because we need to actually link. So we'll create a symlink. Okay, and that link will link this file into the sites enabled folder. And let's run sudo nginx-t again to make sure. Okay, everything's good. So we can restart. I'm really used to not using a sudo user, like I mean root user, so that's why I'm so used to using the sudo command. So yeah, if I use it sometimes and if I don't use it sometimes, that's the reason why. Okay, so S2 should still work. Okay, now we'll go ahead and just do the same thing. So we'll install Certbot as well as Let's Encrypt. And so we'll do yes, and then I'll install that on the S3 server first before we configure the server block. So now that that's done, all you got to do is just run the command. So that's certbot -nginx -d s2 ansonfong.io and then -d www to ansonfong.io, and I'll just copy and paste this, paste that in there, and then we'll just fix it for S3. Oh wait, I didn't configure the Vim stuff yet. Whoops. Okay, completely forgot about that. All right, so let's just do that. Email is arizona@gmail.com. Yes, no. All right, so let's go ahead and just do the same thing. So I'm just gonna copy that default file into that same folder as s3.ansonfong.io. Okay, cool. And then we'll just edit that. So do that. So we just comment out these servers because by default we already have the default already. So I mean, you could also delete the default config too. But I won't do that. Okay, literally we're just doing the same exact thing that we've done before. Okay, so Nginx-T. Now we create the symlink. So now whenever we make changes to that file for whatever reason, it will just auto update. So we don't have to like keep on like, you know, moving the files and stuff. So run Nginx-T again to make sure it's work, and then systemctl restart Nginx, okay. And okay, so let me just go ahead and do this. Now, before we continue, let me also just do one more thing. Well, let me show you. So I actually just refreshed the page on the other tab, but if I refresh right now, it should load up. At least it's loading up over here. I don't know why over here it's not loading up. But you can see over here that it's loading up. Or at least it just loaded up. Okay, it just did. Oh, you know why? I think it's because the other two servers are not set up. But it's weird that S2, so S2 works, but the other two servers aren't working. I don't know why S1 is not being picked up though. We'll debug that later. But you can see that it is working though. It is forwarding the request as we expect it to. I'm just not sure why S1 is not being picked up. Anyways, let's just continue. Let's just continue with this. So where are we right now? So we need to go ahead and create a certificate. So we shall do that right now. S3 and Avalon, Arizona. Yes, no. Okay, cool. So let's wait for that. I think maybe it might just take some time for S1 to pick up. I'm not sure why it's not though. We'll have to look into that, but it's okay. Maybe it's because the maybe something was wrong with the domain. Okay, so S3 should be working now. You can see it's currently not secure, but now it is. So we just secured all of our domains. So S1, S2, and S3 are individually secured. Okay. Let me refresh this. Does it pick up S3? So it picks up S3 and S2. So it seems like it's not forwarding to S1. Let me see why. So let me just double check. So it's only pick up S1 and S2. So we have S1. Okay, that seems correct. Nginx is working fine on S1. So I'm not sure why. Huh, that's interesting. So when I actually go to the IP address directly, okay, I know why. Okay, I know why. So it seems like we may have messed something up with the default. Yeah, so we commented this out, and instead what we should do is we shouldn't comment that out. I may have just commented out by accident. So yeah, I might have just done it by accident. So yeah, so if you see over here with S1, you can see that we don't have any port. You can actually make it so that it listens to different ports. So the nice thing about this is that if you have it, you can have it listening to different ports. It doesn't have to be 80 or 8080. Okay, so for example, this server block can listen to port 8081, but the default one would be 80. Okay, and it'll just be mapped by whatever domain. So this should fix it. So systemctl restart Nginx. What did I just type? Let's see. So it says a duplicate. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. I don't think I have 80. Oh, you know what? It's because of this. It's because of this. Okay, let me see what's going on. So let's see. Vim default. So that's good. I think I know why. I may have Yeah, there we go. So you can see right over here, this right over here is what's causing the issue. That was added, I think, with the SSL encryption stuff. So I think if we just comment that out, that should be fine. Perfect. CTL restart Nginx. Okay. And the reason why I was able to figure that out was because when I actually visited the IP address itself, it didn't actually give me back this. That's what the default does. Okay, but we set up a server block. So the server block will be mapped by the domain name, and it'll go to the actual file itself. So watch this. It should pick up S1. I think it might just take some time because we just updated the stuff on Nginx. But if I go to S1 instant phone IO, so this should work still. Okay. Yeah, it should take some time for this to propagate so that it picks up S1, but it definitely should pick up S1 100% though. Okay, so we know for a fact that it's working, which is great. Okay, there we go. You see it's picking up S1 and we can see that it's working just fine. Now let's do one last thing. Because we did have to disable the firewall. Not disable, but like we did have to kind of like rewrite the rules for the firewall. Let's actually go ahead and fix up the firewall again. But this time, this should work just fine. So what I'll do is I'm going to get rid of the IPv4 and IPv6 rules. And we'll leave only the load balancer. And we'll do the same thing for HTTPS as well. So all requests to port 80 and port 443 incoming traffic must go through the load balancer. So you see that if I try to, I should not be able to access this. Yeah, it'll take a little bit to update because I had to restart my browser last time. Let me see. Let's see. Yeah, so if I open up an incognito window, it's not actually going to load either one of them. Okay, which is exactly what we want. So you can see that I just restarted everything. You can see that S1 is not loading when I refresh. It's not going to load. S2, oh, that's not S2. No. Yeah, this is S1. So it seems like S2, okay, S2 doesn't work anymore. So it was able to access it. I guess that was like a cache, but if I actually refresh, it won't work. S3, okay, so if I refresh, should not work. Perfect. So like I said, the reason why we do this is because we don't want the users to actually access the actual app directly. We want them to come through the main load balancer. I mean, it's really up to you. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know what benefits. I mean, there could be some benefits to allowing the users to access, you know, the server directly, like the actual domain directly, instead of having them go through the load balancer. Because maybe I don't know. There might be some benefits, but at the very least, I would say everything right now goes to the load balancer the way we want it to. Okay, and that is going to pretty much conclude this whole thing.